Just love creating problems for myself because I converted an internal NVMe SSD to external, but it doesn't fit. Let me explain why, and then we're going to test out these products and see if it will work for me. So first, a little bit of explanation. So I have this NVMe external enclosure. I picked it because it can handle like the B, the M, and the BM, is that right, for the different sizes. And so it's USB 3.2 Gen 2, so that's 10 gigabytes per second, which I found to be perfectly sufficient for external drive, and that's all perfectly fine. The problem is, do you see these studs right there? Well, the screw screws into each of them, which is perfect, except if your NVMe SSD is double-sided, like this one is from Sabrent. This sucker runs really hot, which is why I have thermal pads on both sides to attempt to keep it cool. I found the bottom actually got hot too. I don't know exactly why. So I, kind of did one of these. How did I have it? I did one of those, put it in, and to guarantee it doesn't fall out, I just put the little strap on it, and it held it in place. Good enough. Now, ironically, even with all of this on it, this still gets hot and will thermal throttle under extended use unless I have active airflow across it. So even this is not perfect, and it would have the same problem inside the shell. So I want to note that this is a problem with this particular NVMe, that it just runs hot, and that's actually could lead to one of the problems I had with the laptop that this was in, where the keyboard died on me. So it could be that this was causing it to overheat. And I have the metal on the back also to help protect it against those studs on the back, so it helps reinforce the SSD so I'm not bending it too much. Just want to make sure I protect it while it was in this janky use case. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, we have the three options. And what I'm looking for them is for it to basically not thermal throttle and give me a little bit faster speeds. So I got a Orico, and this is a 20 gigabyte per second, so that's USB 2 Gen 2 by 2, so that's 10 in one direction, 10 in the other. I have only one computer that has this, but I'm going to be testing this on my laptop that has Thunderbolt 3 and see what speeds I get. And then I'm going to test it on my desktop, which has a Gen 2 by 2 port on it, and see if it will operate at full speed. And then I'm going to have like an extended version of my standard crystal disk mark test to try to cause it to overheat a little bit. And I'm going to be having data results of it janky, without any thermal pads or anything on it, so it'll just be on there. And then with each of these. Almost forgot, didn't over the other contenders, and then we'll open up. I got a UGreen right there, and I got a NewQ. So let's open them up. Okay, inside the box of the Orico. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. All right, there it is. Open it up, and it comes with a little screwdriver. That is good. We're going to use that because I don't have the other ones. USB-C to C, USB-C to A, and it looks like it's got some standoffs and stuff for the actual NVMe, and it comes with a single thermal pad. So again, my use case is kind of specific in that my NVMe is double-sided, so that is going to be a requirement that it fits a double-sided NVMe. And before I open it up, it's pretty obvious that this has a fan. Looks like it only has that one screw right there. It's very light. This part is plastic, this part is metal, and it does have little hole vents at the back. The screw is out, and it kind of slides back and up. Well, that's a reasonably thick piece of metal. By its weight, feels like aluminum. Certainly feels lighter than that. The fan, oh, that's a cute little fan right there. All right, how do we get this out? All right, and this whole thing just kind of comes out, and it's got a PCB on the back, and the NVMe looks like it goes in the middle there. Hang on. Okay, this is kind of a pain to get into following the directions. You need to get to these little pegs, and it's calling for you to actually get them all out. I actually chipped my fingernail. And so once it's off, you would slide the NVMe into there, and then you put the thermal pad on it. I'm going to do a quick test to see if my NVMe will actually even fit in there. Well, it's not in test position yet, but it looks like it'll fit, so need to check its performance, but that is a good sign for this one. Alright, let's take a look at the next one. And again, this one's just mounting is really weird, but it's annoying, but if you don't have to change out an NVMe SSD a lot, it's perfectly fine. Just kind of cheap plastic. The PCB is kind of nice, and the fan is nice. Mounting is kind of janky, these springs. But hey, it looks like it works. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the UGreen. We'll go over the pricing in a little bit, because I don't remember what it is off the top of my head while I'm doing this section. I'll have to look it up again. USB4 Gen 4s are more expensive than the 20 gigabyte per second. But what really matters is for it to be less janky, not overheat, that sort of thing, than actually the raw speed. Because honestly, for me, like, okay, 10 gigabytes per second, 10 gigabit per second, or 1,000 megabytes per second isn't really full speed for an NVMe, but it's perfectly sufficient for an external. Okay, well, this has some nice heft to it. It's got this rubberized housing around it. That would be good to have if you're going to travel with it, just to protect it from scuffs and breaks and that kind of thing. In there. Okay, in that bag, we get a very thick thermal pad, little screwdriver, little bolt for screwing it in, and then we got another cable. This cable does not have any Thunderbolt markings on it, so I really hope that this would allow it to operate at 40 gigabytes per second. I don't have a Thunderbolt cable with me at all at home, so it's basically this or nothing. If they're selling it, I think it was around $100. If they're selling a product for around $100, it better darn well come with a cable that can operate at that speed. Okay, and then opening it up, we need to take out the screw right there. All right, and this is actually screwed together. I don't know why you'd unscrew it. I'm just saying that you could if you really wanted to. There's going to be a LED or something in there. But yeah, this is screwed together, and it's just a big old thermal plate at the bottom. And right there, you got a little fan. Looks like a little blower style fan. And that should just rush air probably along the back. So the PCB is plastic, so it shouldn't really absorb any heat. But it should help with circulating. And let's see if it fits. Okay, and this is not really like a full fit test, but you know, it appears to fit in there flush and fully engaged, and it's not interfering with anything like it was over there. So this is going to be a contender in the testing. And last, but certainly not least, is the NewQ 40 gigabyte per second. And you know, I had that. There we go. I was like, I had this open a minute ago, and wow, that is a chunk. Yeah, this is the heaviest by not a small little bit. Okay, in the box we got a pretty thick thermal pad. So the casing on it, well, that protects the connector. So, you know, it's sort of weatherproof. But having this sort of silicone rubber ice mesh on top of it will insulate it, so it won't be as able to operate as cool a temperature. So in my testing, I am going to test it without it on. So getting it off is pretty easy, and that's good. Certainly looks a lot better and more pleasant in the hand with it on, because it's got these big heat sinks on it, I guess. Don't really expect it to get that much airflow, but you never know. All right, took me a minute. All right, there we go. That just slid off. Is that magnetic? No, it's a friction fit. It's just a little plug. Do the little fitment test. So again, my only requirement for this was being able to fit double-sided. And it does. So look at all that wasted space. Honestly, I'd like to see this device with 2. And okay, I mean, there's got to be a circuitry and a circuit board on here, right? You can see it a little bit, and that's with these screws. They're holding it in place. So either that board runs really hot, so it needs this massive heatsink to it, or that's insulating this side, so it's not going to work at full speed. I see wasted potential. I'm sorry. I'm distracted by that little... Oh, okay, those push in. That's what's doing it. It's not quite a friction fit. So they're a little, I don't know, ball bearing or something in there, and it slides into place. So it's a better fit than I had originally thought. Without the active cooling, that's a good thing in some ways, because it means it's one less part that could break. Both active cooling isn't going to overheat. So these are the contenders. This is an open box look at them, and let's get into it. All right, in this one, we're doing the Orico, and now I want you to get a listen to this fan. So outside, well, I guess I'm 2-3 feet away with my desktop running. Can't hear it, but it has a very distinct, like, ticking noise. It's very annoying. So in a quiet environment, this may be a problem. Well, maybe not a ticking, but a high-pitched hum. See if you can hear it. So if you did hear a fan, well, that's what it sounds like. But again, it was imperceptible when they held it right up against my ear, and obviously with my desktop right next to it, it's really not going to make much noise. Okay, let's take a look at some basic spec information first things first. So we got the Anchor Power Expand 2 M.2, that is this one. And it's got this little click slide. It wasn't really featured and has that connector in it. And it's M.2, USB Gen 2, 10 GB per second, no fan, no thermal pad, metal enclosure, that its dimensions. Then we got the UGreen, once again, that's this one over here, 40 gigabit per second maximum interface. That's via USB4 or Thunderbolt 4. Internal fan, yes. Thermal pad, yes. And metal enclosure. Then we got the Orico, and that's right there. And its maximum rated speed is 20 gigabytes per second. Internal fan and thermal pad. Then we got the NewQ coming back. There's the NewQ. And its spec information. And then just a SATA 1, USB 3 SATA 1, just for kicks and giggles because I put in the data. And as a general note, NVMEs tend to throttle between like 70 and 80 degrees C, and warning temperatures in Crystal Disk Mark are at 55 degrees C. So while recording this data, I want to give a general note. So kind of a weird thing that I noticed. So my laptop that I use for testing, it does have a Thunderbolt 3 port. I assumed that it was at 40 gigabit per second. It's a Lenovo C940, but I could not find any spec information out there as to what speed it is. And other than these enclosures, I have no device to test its maximum speed. So it's either a problem with the laptop in that its only implementation is at 20 gigabit per second, because Thunderbolt 3 allowed it to run at either 20 or 40. It wasn't specified or locked in to that higher speed like Thunderbolt 4 is. Or it's a problem with the device. And again, I just don't really know which one it is, and I have no way to test it. So that is the caveat that we're basically looking at right here. So we got the UGreen test interface at 6 gigabit per second. This is a SATA one, just as a speed comparison. We got the Anchor with without the heatsink and its maximum temperature. Then we got the Anchor with heatsink and its maximum temperature. And I have the speeds on here just because, hey, I don't know if I was going to hit any thermal limits. So I recorded the speeds while doing the test. And these are the maximum temperatures that I saw achieved by the end of the test, basically. Then we got the Orico, 20 gigabit per second, 54 degrees C, same device, running in my Thunderbolt 3 port on my laptop, and its speeds, it was apparently running in 10 gigabit mode. My laptop does not support USB3gen2x2, so it was defaulting back to 10 gig speeds, and that does allow for a drop in temperature. The UGreen, operating at Gen 2 Gen 2 regular. There's its speeds and the temperature it achieved. Then we have it operating in Gen 2x2 and temperature 46 degrees C. And in my Thunderbolt 3 port, operating at almost the same speed as 2x2, but actually slower. So the most significant drop was actually in the writes. I don't know why, but it was pretty consistent. Then we did the NewQ maintenance free. I don't have another name for that. It's just that is what it is. 2x2, 36 degrees C, and in Thunderbolt 3, there's its speed. Now the NewQ is cooler and has the same sort of behavior as the UGreen the UGreen 40 gigabit. Different test. These are results. We already went through the temperatures, read through it all. So I'll just leave it up for a couple more seconds and then we'll continue on. And then this is the random tests. Interestingly, the UGreen in the Thunderbolt 3 interface, as well as the NewQ, really did really well in writes, but absolutely abysmally in reads. Or I reverse that. Really well in reads, really terrible in writes. While the other ones were much more in line with what I would expect with like previous results. And then other random Q1 thread 1 4 kilobytes. Again, the temperatures are going to stay the same because I just only recorded the maximum temperature. I am looking into software to read over the period of the test to try to get data on that, but that is not applicable for what I did here. I will note that I did end up choosing to keep the UGreen, and I was transferring data from a bunch of other NVMEs and external drives onto the 2 terabyte that I have installed in it, just to simplify where I have data because I have backups of it already. Anyways, and I saw it get up to temperatures as high as 55 degrees C over an extended long test of like an hour or two. Let's say 2 hours, because I was doing a bunch of sequential drives, and it didn't equate to more than like 1 or 2 terabytes, but it still took a while because some of the drives are a little bit on the slow side. Anyways, that is the maximum temperature that I did see, not recorded here, unfortunately. And enclosure testing. This is the raw data and what devices were used and what USB version was used in that test for each device, as well as the test interface. We've got the temperatures and the performance. So with that, that brings us to the end of this video. I hope that it was kind of interesting taking a look at these external enclosures. Apparently I like making problems for myself. I actually, this led to another set of questions, and I'm going to have a follow-up video playing around with, I think, thermal pads and how to place it on the SSD and see if that adjusts temperatures. It's just kind of an idea I'm playing around with. Don't know if I'll make a video about it, but there isn't a lot of information, so I'm looking into that because thermals and airflow and stuff are all interrelated subjects for me. Anyways, if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button, and think about joining me as a Patreon or a YouTube member. Both go a long way in making this content possible. Because this channel is unsponsored, so it is just me buying stuff and testing it for myself, basically. Anyways, I hope you have a great day and hope you join me next time on Computer Tech and More.